All right, people. Welcome to another session, another season of the Savage Patriots. We have a guest of honor here today, and he is wearing what you think he's wearing, mostly because it's AJ.
Yeah,
He's got to trigger people, and so he here to trigger folk. Hope y'all get triggered.
he's
But he's
eccentric.
here to have a added voice to the topic of World War III. Now, you're going to have people saying that we're not in World War III. However, I want to go over one quick little thing before people decide that we're not. During World War II, these are the countries that were involved: Nazi Germany, Japan, Italy, the British Empire, United States, Soviet Union, China. Okay. What and who are the powers involved at war today? Ukraine, Russia, China, Iran, Palestine, Israel, and the United States. Two more than were in World War II. So if you don't think
Amazing.
that we are in World War III, then you are retarded. So we are going to discuss what the real effects of these proxy and major wars are actually going to be, because if you think there's no casualties and there's no effect here on the global market, then you are absolutely wrong, because the powers at B, namely the US, Russia, China, and Israel, are the ones that have been all behind the global chaos. The one country that has been behind it financially on purpose is the United States. And they have been the one funding, we have been the one funding nearly every one of these proxy wars for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So when people tell you that, oh, it's nothing big, no, it is very big, because the warmongers are back in power. And as you can see, since the withdrawal from Afghanistan, you've seen a collapse on the global scale like you've never seen before, because, well, you have seen it. World War II. Ain't that weird? Ain't that a thing that since World War II, you haven't seen a collapse like this on the global scale? So the theory is that World War III has already begun, and we just have not branded it as World War III. We're just calling it proxy wars. And what was that other word that they like to use? Ethnic wars between
Mm.
Israel.
Limited warfare.
Limited warfare, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
all financial, or it's trying to gain ground. It is a world at war. World war. Just because one's not attacking, all of them's not attacking one location, does not mean it's not World War III. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts? And you can go in round if you want, but we're not going to all talk over each other. So, whoever wants to go first, raise your hand and act like you're Black Power, like AJ likes to do. And let me know what your thoughts are on this one, because this has big implications overall. So, I want to hear your thoughts on this one. How about we go? How about we go? Black, Asian, white, black, and that'd be a great
Okay.
way to go.
Which
Go
Asian
black,
though?
black,
Boy?
Asian, white. If you don't know what race you are, I can help you with that.
I do believe I'm not ambiguously colored.
It was a
Yeah.
confusion for me on everyone's face, like who's black
Yeah.
and who's Asian.
Oh my God.
Wait, who's the black guy? It's the 1% guy here, right here. That's
You
the
know,
black guy.
at the end of the day, there's only one person really, I think, funding this whole war, and that person, we don't know who this person is. You know, so we talk about all these different countries that are going at it, and this country hates this country hates this country. And I always bring up a documentary, you know, and I always tell people everything is a rich man's trick. So there is one entity, whoever it is, whoever Satan himself is up there funding all these wars. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're at war with each other, but there's only one person making money off of all of it, and they're funding every side of the war. So they're funding this side, and whoever wins, they roll the dice like they did in World War II. If you go back to World War II, you look at organizations like that railroad company. What's that railroad company's name? What is that railroad company? Anyways, there was a railroad company. They were funding America, but they were also funding the Nazis. You know what I mean? They were funding them also. So who's ever funding it is the one making out on all these wars. And then you got the American people and all the people from all these countries picking sides for this war. So it was bound to happen because we need a big war and there's money in war. So someone's getting rich from it. I think it's unnecessary, but money, greedy people think it's necessary.
Where did AJ go?
I don't know. He lost his connection.
He just dipped. He said, "I'm done with
He's,
this.
he's not doing this.
I'm not doing this rich race thing. Go ahead."
Well, Jay, you taking it or am I taking it?
No, it's definitely Asian time.
Okay,
Mhm.
Asian time. I'll go.
You're muted too. What's up with that? It looked like it might be a white man's trick. I mean, a rich man's trick. Same thing.
Yeah, same.
Everything's a white man's trick.
It's all a trick.
Can I hear you now? Let me hear. No.
Yeah,
No, he's got audio issues, so I guess it's.
Yeah.
Let him go ahead, Coy. He's fixing his audio.
Yeah, so this whole thing is interesting to me because people are saying it's like it's World War III. It's like everybody's saying it's becoming World War III, but I think ever since the invasion of Ukraine, it's been
better. I can hear you.
It's been World War III. All right, Jay, you can go ahead and take your point.
No. Go ahead, finish up.
Well, this is my point. It's like there's so many nuances in this conversation we have to get into later, but like everything has just been tit for tat since Ukraine. I mean, you could even say that it's a since the start of the GWOT in itself, it's been World War. It's just been the idea of the limited warfare campaign to keep the big wars out was only going to last for so long. It's surprising it lasted for 70 years as it did. But that's where we are at now, is that we can no longer sit back and do the limited warfare. It's come to a head, and now it's got to take care of itself. And whether that's going to be at our expense, which is more than likely what's going to happen, because everything that's pretty much bad has happened can be tied to the CIA, especially when it comes to Iran, which I'll bring up later. You know, we're just seeing the fruits of the labors of the United States foreign policy come back to bite them in the ass. That's what it really comes down to, is that the deep state, the administrative state that has been running the show since they assassinated Kennedy, is the reason why we're in all this mess.
I could agree with that. Lee?
I would venture to say that a lot of just what's going on is these, like we said, it's a proxy war. And to be honest, it's one of those global front issues that I think will only pay a toll on the citizens, particularly for us who, as American citizens, we're the ones that are missing or losing out on the brunt of all that's going on. Because, I mean, China will win Taiwan if it happens. Then you got Ukraine, who's going to have their own, thing. And then because it's our tax dollars that's funding, Israel and Palestine on both fronts, we're the ones that lose.
Period. Mr. AJ, sir.
Well, I think we know why we can't call it World War III.
Go ahead.
Optics, our media, and we're in an election year. So with all of those factors and the fact that we want the guy who's in to get reelected, we have to sort of figure out how to market this to the people so that they're not alarmed. And they have control over pretty much every major social media conglomerate. So we're just fighting an uphill battle trying to get a narrative out that we're probably going to be unsuccessful getting out, but at the same time, we're not going to shut up. So let's keep talking, but we understand that we're up against this massive multi-billion-dollar machine. War is money. We can try to splice it up and call it whatever we want to call it, but we know at the end of the day, when all is said and done, this all goes back to Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. getting reelected.
Right.
Bam.
Robin.
And one quick point: what is one thing that keeps a president in office? War. So if there's a major conflict, and say we have to deploy our troops in a major conflict like this proxy World War III, the president doesn't have to leave office at the time of a conflict. So this could be another reason, because they're panicking. We know they're all panicking because they know Donald Trump, if the election was to happen right now, they know Donald Trump would blow Joe Biden out the water. So they have to find a way to say, hey, it's inevitable if the election happens. It's inevitable that Donald Trump's going to get elected. So how can we keep Donald Trump out of office? Let's start a war. And all this ends with the New World Order. And if anybody who thinks that is just some conspiracy theory, they've been living under a rock. They want the one world order. So if they create a world war, and then they say, well, how we stop these world wars, we need one centralized leader. That way we can keep all the countries from fighting each other. And this is how they get it.
This is the only way to get into the Galactic Federation. Okay, we have to be one world government.
Galactic.
I mean, it's real.
The Galactic Federation said, hey, you guys can't be fighting, so fix it.
So I had a theory, okay?
Yeah.
I think the globalists have learned that a major war can easily be seen and a global war can be pegged on somebody, and a global war can be seen as has a bad guy, and you can all go after the bad guy, and then it resolves. And once it's resolved, you have to find a way to create a new war. But the world doesn't fully burn. There's a section of the globe that burns, and then you find these people, tributaries, that don't agree with it, and they eventually fade out into the distance. But that has only worked for the last few wars, but then it keeps dissipating, and they have to come up with new funds. This way, they have the entire field on fire, and they call each of them a different tributary war. But when you look at the field from the air, all the field is burning, and you have some lines in between that aren't, but eventually the war is going to become the whole field. The world burns better this way because you have more fires going on. So they call it proxy, or they call it a conflict between this nation and that nation. They never will call it a global war, even though there are wars happening globally, that they won't idolize it as one war. No, it's multiple ones, and we have to address each one individually, and it's all very convoluted, and we have to make peace here and peace there and peace here and peace, but they're not actually making peace. If you watch what Joe did with the so-called ceasefire between Gaza and Israel, there was no ceasefire. What there was, it was a cease coverage. They just stopped covering it, and they says, there's they stopped firing rockets until people started leaking footage from their cell phones of the war still going on. Then they say, I guess the Palestinians broke the ceasefire. No, they didn't. They never stopped firing, and neither did Israel. The war's just still going on. You just stop covering it and call it a ceasefire. That's not a ceasefire. The same way you tell me a war is going on between Ukraine and Russia, when all Russia is trying to do is do what they've been doing, is try and take back what was theirs. And you call it a war, and you start to fund it as though it's a war. That was your precursor to what's going on globally. Then you start happening between, now Iran's jumping in, and now Russia's telling they're going to go after Iran. So what do you think that is? It's crossfire. And in order to have the whole field burn, you have to have starting a proxy war that affects everybody else. And soon everybody else starts jumping in. Didn't Zelensky say that? If you don't fight, your children are going to pay for it. If you don't pay, your children are going to pay for it. Of course they're going to pay for it. But he's trying to make it as though what you're doing is the reason why we have to fight. And if you don't join us, the fight will continue. But what you're really planning is to continue to fight with or without us. If you can get rid of us, that'd be even better, which is why he mentioned our children. But if you're going to be here, please join us and make sure that you continue the war. But there is never going to be a ceasefire on this front. I believe, just like you said, Mike, that there is going to end up coming a person up front saying, you know what, we need to have one person in charge of it, and it's going to come through the UN. It's going to eventually slip in through the UN, where they're going to send out these peacekeepers to all of the proxy wars, and you're going to hear of a quelching. But like I said, it's not going to quelch. They're just going to cover it differently from his perspective. And he's going to say stuff like, it's done. There's no war about it. No war. And then he's going to go into each of these territories, wipe out who he needs to wipe out, and call it an end to the war. That's what's going to happen.
So Marlon, so to your point, there always needs to be that bad guy. Who do you think that bad guy is in the midst of all of the current players involved?
Oh, they'll put it as Trump. This is how they're going to do, because Trump was the one that talked to North Korea, right? Yeah. So he's friends with North Korea. He's also friends with Russia, who's going after Iran, right? He's friends with Israel. So he is the central figure to make the ultimate bad guy. Because if he had done his job while he was president, none of this would have happened under Joe, because they felt emboldened and they got mad that Joe won. So now they're starting wars on his behalf. So if they're doing it on his behalf, we have to end Trump. And in so doing, we'll end the wars. Just watch. They're going to end up throwing him as the ultimate bad guy, whether or not he is. I'm not saying either way. On paper, he didn't start any war. But in their world, he started a war afterwards, because his name is Trump. So
it's because he wasn't supposed to win. I mean, you noticed that, right? Like, look how they address him, right? They say Mr. Trump, right? They're election deniers because they won't call him President Trump. They call him Mr. Trump. Even like John Kirby recently, I was listening to an interview he was doing over the Israel and Iran situation, and he's like, "Yeah, Mr. Trump, it's his fault for X, Y, and Z for Iran getting the ability to launch missiles." And I'm like, because the Iran deal was scrapped under him. He's blaming him for Iran, right? But he doesn't say President Trump or the former president. He says Mr. Trump.
I didn't know a citizen had that much power.
Yeah, I know, right?
wasn't it
good old
Obama
Mr.
that gave
Trump is
all
the
that
reason
weaponry,
why.
though? Wasn't that black guy that gave him all that power? They
All
gave
that
Iran
money.
all the weaponry and money,
Pallets of
didn't
cash.
they? Oh,
Yeah, pallets of
I mean,
cash.
if
The Black
Trump,
Messiah.
I mean, if Trump
Yeah.
was the one that
Black
inherited
Jesus.
the economy, shouldn't he have also inherited all of those policies, right?
I would think. I would think.
Yep.
Just a thought.
No,
But like
no,
I said,
because
they're
he
election
canceled it.
deniers.
Yeah,
They're
he
election
canceled it.
deniers.
But now the question here is this, okay? Say they do and cannot help but call it what it actually is.
World War III.
What does that forget the globe for a minute, because we don't live outside, we live in America. We live in a society. What do you think the local impact, and by local I mean United States impact on the citizenry, because we're the ones that's going to end up funding it, whether we like it or not. People, you're going to fund it unless you decide tomorrow not to pay your taxes, which you can do. I suggest this, and this is just my suggestion: do not pay a tax. You know how you do that? No income. But anyway, I'll just give you some advice. You have no income, you have non-reportable, and if you have non-reportable, you know what you don't get or pay? Taxes. Look at that. You just defunded the government. In any case, if what is the real effect on the American population if this thing does take off to where the government acknowledges that they need to participate in all of the proxy wars going on outside the United States? Whoever wants to go first.
Well, it's already started now. They're already starting to call back, and you probably saw it going around. They're calling back retirees for the Marine Corps and the Army. So they're already trying to fill the ranks, because they're telling us like something is going to happen. So they're going to try to fill the ranks, and then the American people, what's going to happen here once they get all these veterans out of here and all these people out of here that they're scared of, they know they're scared of, because we are capable and we are trained to conduct certain things. They know this, and we can train the populace to do these things. They're trying to get us out the picture. That way they can come in and create whatever martial law, whatever. We're a country at war. I mean, go back to 9/11. You got to think about how fast they locked down the country off of that event. So what they'll do here to cause chaos, once they acknowledge that a war is happening and we're at war with whoever country they pick that day, they'll plan some type of attack here, kind of like 9/11, to scare the American people into supporting the war. And then lockdowns will happen. And then all these things will happen. Then supply lines will happen. So they'll break us to the point to where people will probably want to fight. And then they'll start pulling people out of the state, saying we got to send people over here to fight, send people over here to fight, while America goes to crap and they take over America. That's what I think.
So here's an interesting thing: is you also got to look at the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse, and how they have rushed to cover that up, even though they won't admit that it was probably an attack in response to what happened in Russia at the theater, because the people that were responsible for that attack are probably CIA related, and it was purposely done through ISIS. If that was ISIS, it's more than likely Ukrainians that did it. But it was a response. But they won't admit it was, because that's the way that the new warfare is being conducted. People have this idea that World War III is going to be like World War II, right? It's not. It's not going to be like that. No war has been the same as the previous war. Look at World War I versus World War II, completely different wars, right? Even though that was only a span of 20 years? What is even that long? So with technology now, warfare is completely changed. It's completely different. We have the cyber theater of war that we're still dealing with right now, right? So you have this idea that we could have been attacked. So the likelihood it was an attack is more likely because it was a major port on the East Coast that handled billions of dollars worth of goods, right? And some random liner that was supposed to have a tug pulling it had a local group on it with a Ukrainian at the helm running into a bridge. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go with that. Let's go with that. That's what actually happened. But they can't admit that it was, because one, that would mean they admit that they're weak, and two, that would mean that Russia's more of a threat than they're letting on. Even though they say they're not, they're a threat, but not a threat at the same time. So they're trying to do this both sidesism with all these conflicts. It's like, well, they're not that big of a deal, but they are that big of a deal.
Schrodinger's politics.
They opened up a criminal investigation into it recently.
Mm-hmm.
So And again, that's the government investigating the government, so they ain't gonna find nothing wrong.
Yeah,
In fact,
right.
they may find that the
I found it
person
did
at the
nothing wrong.
helm was a Trump supporter, and
we found a red hat at the helm.
Oh God, Jesus.
See, they will use that. They will use that incident for whichever way the wind blows.
Yep.
Right? If they need it to be Russia, it will be Russia. If they need it to be Trump, it will be Trump.
Trump, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, one and the same. Trump, Russia, same thing.
Yeah, that's
same
how
thing.
they believe anyway.
Exactly.
As
You
for
know,
martial law, yeah, I do believe they'll end up pushing, but I think they would push that long without the war. That's going to get pushed without the war. Here's why it'll get pushed without the war. They have a separate, there are two phases that they're doing this in. One is body count in the war, and the other phase is body count socially. Because if they can criminalize a certain group, like they tried doing with J6, they have to start adding on a different kind of count to your criminalization. So if one, you're a traitor to the country, and then two, you're a bigot, and then three, you're a racist, and then you're all these other terms that they can make you a local terrorist. Now they can come after you for whatever reason.
exactly.
Now, the reason why they're doing it the way they're doing it to the social side, they're also mirroring this in the military. If you watch, who are they trying to recruit more of in the military? They're getting rid of the straight and putting in the right. Why? Because they're going to be more likely to agree with them that we're the bad guy because we're not. And so you can send them out to do stuff that you wouldn't normally be able to send actual men and women out to do. This is it. Trust me, they know exactly what they're doing. Okay, take a look at the recruitment ad for the CIA, for crying out loud. CIA. Okay, this is the CIA.
When I was 17, I quoted Zora Neale Hurston's How It Feels to Be Colored Me in my college application essay. The line that spoke to me stated simply, I am not tragically colored. There is no sorrow dammed up in my soul nor lurking behind my eyes. I do not mind at all. At 17, I had no idea what life would bring, but Zora's sentiment articulated so beautifully how I felt as a daughter of immigrants then and now. Nothing about me was or is tragic.
2 points of
I am perfectly made. I can wax eloquent on complex legal issues in English while also belting Guayaquil de mis amores in Spanish. I can change a diaper with one hand and console a crying toddler with the other.
Good.
I'm a woman of color.
And overthrow a country.
I am a cisgender millennial who's been diagnosed with generalized anxiety
gosh.
disorder.
Everything.
I am intersectional,
In
but
one.
my existence is not a box-checking exercise.
But you
I
just
am a
did.
walking declaration, a woman whose inflection does not rise at the end of her sentences, suggesting that a question has been asked. I did not sneak into CIA. My employment was not
But
and
I
is
did
not
sneak
the
in
result
Bolivia.
of a fluke or slip through the cracks. I earned my way in, and I earned my way up the ranks of this organization. I am educated, qualified, and competent, and sometimes I struggle. I struggle feeling like I could do more, be more to my two sons, and I struggle leaving the office when I feel there's so much more to do. I used to struggle with imposter
we have to
syndrome,
overthrow a
but at
dictator.
36, I
gosh,
refuse to
she's still
internalize
talking.
misguided patriarchal ideas of what a
Oh
woman
my
can
God.
or
Oh my
should
God.
be.
This is busy.
I am tired of feeling like I'm supposed to apologize for the space I occupy rather than intoxicate people with my effort, my brilliance. I am proud of me, full stop. My parents left everything they knew and loved to expose me to opportunities they never had. Because of them, I stand here today a proud first-generation Latina and officer at CIA. I am unapologetically me. I want you to be unapologetically you, whoever you are. Know your worth. Command your space. Mija.
Oh man.
You see the shirt?
Yeah.
Do you see the symbol, right? You see what that symbol is, right? Okay.
I have a joke.
This is why we
I
have
love it how
drizzle, guys. Drizzle. Women
Okay,
like that.
just so you know, be prepared for this joke. I love it how this Latina woman went out of her way to get an education and be like super educated and stuff just to sell drugs anyway.
Yeah, there you go. Ain't that something? ain't that something? Now, okay.
All right, go ahead.
Every single
Sorry.
plus point we just talked about, she mentioned in one ad. But then says that she's not a box checker when every box that was possible to be checked, she checked.
Yeah.
There wasn't a single box left on that thing. It was like if she was doing the SATs and any multiple choice, she put up, it was all black all the way. So you couldn't tell her she was wrong or right. It was okay. That is what they do. So when I told you they were trying to do it from the inside, when they have people like that at the helm, if you disagree with that mindset, and they have deemed you a problem for people that think like, and they say that the majority of the United States is like that, you are now a threat. So what they don't get you on the battlefield, they'll get you where? Regularly. You are now branded as part of the regime anyway in Russia. You're just as bad as Iran. You're just as bad as Israel or even Hamas. Either way, you are a problem to the local society, and we have to get rid of you. And how do we get rid of you? Well, we brand you a problem, and we just say, you're now arrested. It's going to happen. So I don't think martial law, they're going to need martial law. They're just going to change the law, and you're going to become part of the problem.
See, if I'm watching that, and I'm looking at this from like a North Korean perspective of Kim Jong-un, he's going to be like, this is very weak. This is we conquer America now, kind of thing.
And you
for me, she was just praising stuff for one that she didn't have control over. You had no control that you was a Latina. You had no control over your skin color. So I don't know what's so proud to be about that, because you didn't control that. You had no say so on that. Two, you're proud of things that you were expected to do. Do good in school.
Be a functioning adult.
Work hard. Be a functioning adult. Take care of your kids. Change diapers. Those are things that you're expected to do. That's not some type of flex. And she was sitting there flexing about it, like, we're supposed to say, oh, good job on changing your kids' diapers. Oh, you're Latina, good job. You was born like that. No one cares.
That's the human experience, man.
I can brush my teeth. Y'all want to give me a badge because I can brush my teeth now. I'm like, I'm good. Right. Hey, look, I changed my underwear today, y'all. Like, now, don't get me wrong. Some people do it, but I did it better. That's all I'm saying.
You went left leg to right leg.
I went left leg first, not right leg. And I'm right-handed. That's because I know how to experience other people's pain when changing my underwear. That's the kind of thing they're going to bring up. And it's not necessarily that, it's hilarious, but at the same time, you have to look at how they're doing it. They're systematically bringing it. They're not just throwing it. But, now we see that they're throwing it at us, but they've been doing it since the 80s. Who remember Cyndi Lauper? You remember Cyndi Lauper? You remember any of those guys? You remember Boy George?
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all don't remember any of those people? Where they started to introduce all this mindset to you that it was okay. And then eventually they kept asking for more and more and more and more and more. And eventually they displaced you as the normal. And but the thing is, we didn't try and criminalize them. We didn't throw them in jail for who they were. We just didn't have anything to do with them if we didn't agree. They lived their life, but for some reason, we can't live our life without them unless we accept them fully into our own life and even behave like them. And if you don't behave like them, you're done. This is our war here locally. The global doesn't even care about what's going on, because any one of those people leaves now and go to a foreign country, they're going to get nuked. Nobody wants them in over there. That's why black people over here that view that whole this thing as bad, go to Africa. And then tell them that you're a non-binary, whatever, you identify as a furry, whatever. Go and tell them. And the first person off the plane will step to your face and say, "Why are you gay?" That's what they're going to say. And you're going to be like, "What? Who told you I was gay? You are gay." That's what they're going to happen to you. You're not going to go over there and act like you do over here to the motherland. They're not going to accept you like that. So stop your nonsense. But over here, you have been conditioned to think that is normal, and now it's going into the military, which is why they have no problem with the 22 a day getting murked. Why? That's less, way less of them. They want to recruit, like you said, bro. They want to bring back, the people over from, the retired ones back. You know why they're trying to bring you back? To finish you off. It's much easier than having you on the street, isn't it? Much easier than having you on the street.
Hey, I was telling my mom not my mom, my best friend. He's retired too, and I was like, man, if they call me back, I'm gonna walk in there with a crack pipe and ashy lips. I'm like, I'm here to realize, I'm smoking crack. They ain't gonna get me. We don't want no crack.
They might still take you. They might still take you though.
Yeah, they still do it anyway. I mean, he's like,
what's funny is that in the beginning she said that she was a cis, whatever, and whatever else was after
non-binary, whatever. Yeah.
Non-binary, and then at the end, she showed a transgender shirt. Yeah. Didn't she? Wasn't that the transgender symbol?
And socialist.
And socialist. So she's a cis, but she's an ally. That means she can't be trusted. You don't trust the allies, man.
I remember when the CIA went after communists.
Yeah, not anymore because they are.
Not
They're
where
embracing
one.
them.
I know,
Not
right?
where-
Now the communists are in the CIA, but it doesn't matter. They use whatever that means they need necessary to
AJ,
get in.
what's up, AJ? You ain't got nothing to say. You good? Can you hear?
Can you-
All right.
Yeah, he can hear. He's
Oh.
been laughing at the jokes.
Oh,
Yeah.
The
But-
thing about it is this, right? For all intents and purposes, people will want, and even when I posted the advertisement on TikTok, right, about
Mhm.
World War III, we had this one simp. Stop fear mongering. And this is their go-to. You're making people afraid of what? The truth?
mhm.
That's what I'm making people afraid of? Because I'm
Listen,
calling it
man.
what it is, you have a problem with it because you don't want to call it that because your wet potato you don't want to have to lose him because he's making things the way you want it. Of course you won't.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you're the ones that's going to be harmed. You're so stupid you don't even realize that you're going to be the one that's going to be affected the most. All the so-called freedoms that they said we'll give you. And bro, you said this before. It might be Satan up there. But this is exactly what Satan wants to do to you. Yeah, you'll have everything you want. Don't worry about it. And this is now, if you remember Cuba, listen to what happened in Cuba. This is what happened on the ground level. We need everybody to have equality. So what do? Well, you have two cars. Is that really fair to have two cars? Because there's some people that don't have two cars. They don't even have one. So how about you just limit your cars to one? Okay. You have two houses. Do you really need two houses? And there's some people that don't have houses. How about you limit it to one? Okay, then that becomes law. Oh, you can only buy this. Okay, so you eat too much. We need to limit the amount of food you eat because there are some people starving. So we need to share the food around. Oh, well, you eat that kind of food. We don't want you dying before time. So we're going to change what you can and cannot buy. If you think I'm wrong, go ask a Cuban and tell me if they tell you the same thing. Then they limit it to what they decide is healthy. And then before too long, you couldn't buy anything without their say so. You couldn't even earn money on the level. Remember the whole $20 an hour thing? Don't worry, it's coming. And then they eventually will change that to less than 20 an hour. And then eventually they'll say, well, the government gets to dictate that even though you own the business. They did that in Cuba. How do you think people became to where they were eating rats? How do you think it happened in Venezuela? The exact same thing. And they're doing it here, but these morons don't see it. You see it as freedom. They're accepting everybody. Everybody must be equal. The problem with everybody equal is that somebody is deciding what equal is.
Yep.
And the person who's deciding what equal is isn't buying into the same system they're giving you. Did Fidel only have one car? No.
No.
Did Fidel only have one house? No.
Hell no.
He had everything. Those people in Cuba didn't have jack. The same way that wet potato and that disgusting transgender married Obama has the same concept. They want to tell you what you should and shouldn't have while they're the ones owning $1 million homes on the same beachfront they tell you it's going to be gone because of global warming.
Yeah.
But if you're
That's
stupid
why we're
enough
on
to
in a
believe
private
that,
jet.
be stupid enough to believe that. There's no rule against being stupid. You want to do that, feel free.
But
But don't tell
oftentimes
us we're the dumb ones. You are.
the pushback often is, well, that's not really communism. That's not really socialism.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're talking
It's not
about.
real.
We don't really understand it. And then when I ask them to unpack it, they can never really unpack it because they don't even know what the hell it is. And I'm sitting here like, it's not this perfect utopia where everyone's sharing everything. And if the people creating these rules, they're not down here talking to you. They're up here living high on the hog while all of y'all are down here fighting for the scraps. And you don't understand that. So you think capitalism is the enemy. It's not capitalism. That's your enemy. First of all, it's your laziness. First, it's your excuses. And then it's the fact that you don't want to go out and beast the fuck out in this world. And that's not my issue. That's your issue, not mine. And so when you sit back and you make excuses for why you can't do something or for why something's happening, it's happening to you because you're allowing it. It's happening to you because you don't understand civics. You don't understand your government. You don't understand that the government works for you. You don't work for the fucking government. People don't get these things because they think that everything that comes down the pipeline from the president is perfection and the holy grail. And it's like, bro, your local politics. Most of the people don't even know what district they live in. They don't know the congressmen, they don't know the senators, they don't know the aldermen, they don't know the mayors. And I'm sitting here like, you have to know all of these local people before I can even begin to have a conversation with you. Because if you think it's the president, you're an idiot.
Exactly. And you know, back to Marlon's point about, you know, when it comes to minimum wage and how it's going to start at $20 and they're going to keep lowering it down. You know, the State Department just came out with something about getting rid of side hustles, you know, and then they're trying to knock down to how many hours you're allowed to work, you know, 4-day work weeks. And then the State Department comes out and says no more side hustles because they're worried about us being overworked. So they don't want us doing something on the side. And that's how it starts. No side hustle's gone. 8-hour, 4-day work weeks. All right, now we're going to lower it a little more, you know, because other people don't have jobs and there's other people out there that can use those hours. So if you just get them down to 3, you know, part-time and then get somebody else's part-time, you kind of break even.
Doesn't that remove an individual's choice?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
But-
checking.
So it's funny we talk about this because you got to look at how the argument is that we need to raise the minimum wage, is like we do, but also the reason why is because of all the policies that they've implemented has destroyed the economy, right? Like you can't. I ask anybody, try to make it on $7.25 in today's economy. Just try it. It is impossible. There's no way any reasonable person can live on $7.25. It's just not going to happen.
During when COVID hit, right? They gave you the option of staying home, right? So they'd pay you.
They did
to stay home. It was a test, people. It was a test to see who was stupid enough to take it and depend on the government's handouts. There were people so insane, pleading and making all sorts of requests for more. What was that? What was that money they were having? Stimulus checks? Give me that stimulus. Give me that stimulus check, right? All they wanted was stimulus. They don't ask where it's coming from. They don't ask how it's funded. They don't even care what the kickback, or they don't even care what later down the road the government's going to ask for. They have no concern for that because they're too lazy, weak-minded to care about it. They made 2 movies. They made 2 movies that showed us exactly what their goal was. The first one was Demolition Man. In case you don't remember Demolition Man, where they thought Wesley Snipes was the bad guy, he was the good guy. Okay? For people who don't understand, Wesley Snipes was not the bad guy. You might have called him the enemy, but when you watch what they actually did to the good people in order to just go back and watch, you'll see. Then the next movie they did was Elysium, where they showed you what they wanted to do to you. You were left in the slums and they were up in this little floating arena with all their cures and healthy living, and they were living for forever. And meanwhile, you're down there eating scraps. It's their plan. It has not changed. They think they're better than us. If you just look at them, they'll tell you.
It's also the same families, right? Think about it like this, right? They have been mad ever since the medieval ages ended, right? Since the families that controlled all the countries stopped having that power, right? Since we got rid of the monarchies, like it's all the same. It's a neo-nobility. These people will always rise up to claim that elite status. So like even if you implement socialism and everything works out in your communist utopia that you want, there will always be this neo-nobility that will rise up and take control of power and say, we are over you. These are narcissists who don't care about you and will take what they can from everybody else and say they're doing it for your own well-being. That's what the communists do. That's the same thing that the nobility does, right? The noble obligation, right? That's what they used to call it. There's a French word for it. I'm not going to pretend to try to pronounce it. But that's what it is, the noble obligation. We have to protect the citizenry. That's why we have our noble status, is because we have to protect them all, right? We're the only ones smart enough to be able to implement the plan. And so that's why you have to listen to us.
You want to see it in effect? Go to India.
Yeah.
Yes.
They call it the caste system there, but it's exactly what they have planned, okay? It's exact. And you know who really brought the caste system to India? It wasn't India. You want to know who that was? Anyone take a guess who brought the caste system to India?
The UK.
The Crown.
Yep.
The Crown brought the whole idea of the caste system to India, and it stuck. And everybody wants to know, what did the Crown? The Crown is one of the most vile families ever to grace the earth outside of the Rothschilds. They're disgusting human beings, and everyone wonders why they catch cancer. People rejoice. It's because of that. The Queen lived way too long for my taste. The kinds of crap that her and her family and the rest of them perpetrate on the world, they should have been like annihilated years ago, but they're still around for some sick reason. So when you look at it, they've been telling you over and on different little pockets of the globe what their concept was. They want to make sure that there's a select pocket making all the rules.
Yep.
And they put it under the guise of we care. And we want to make sure that you understand that we want you to be at peace and all at one. And what they're really telling you is that one for you means all of you are broke and we tell you how to make your money. And the rest of us use the excess, but it's actually the surplus that they take and they give you what is, left is what's that, but this, and they take that. Hey, and they call this equal. They call that equal for you. And this is them for this is payment for them making sure that you have enough. That's what that is.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, but the same families that existed back when in the UK who also established the caste system, aren't they also the ones that fathered the eugenics movement?
Yes.
They're responsible for a lot. But to Marlon's point earlier about breaking down America socially, because physically they understand we have a lot of we have a lot of guns, and it's going to be very hard to give up those guns. So if they could break us down up here and here, it's going to be so much easier to take those guns. If they break us down to the point to where there's scraps on the counter, we have no money, we're living in the slums, and they go, all you got to do is give up your gun. We'll give you whatever you want. That's the way to do it. So they have to break us down mentally. That's the only way they're going to actually get our weapons and get what they want, because America has always been the prize. The people, not the clowns and the government. Yeah, not the government. The people is what makes America what it is. We are too strong as a people. If we actually can get our stuff together, we're unbeatable. But then they separate us in these little groups, all these little boxes. This group hates this group, hates this group, hates this group, hates this group. Then they bring a pandemic on us and everyone's confused, but they're still in their little groups. But we're all equally suffering. But we're still in our groups, though. We all think alike. And that's how they take us.
I appreciate
it's a slow process.
I appreciate the pandemic for one thing. Go ahead, AJ.
No, but I say that all the time. That's how they divide us, is that they take the most extreme versions of each of us, and then they make that the focal point.
Header.
And so when you don't have exposure to a group of people and all you know is this extreme thing, you automatically think that anytime I encounter this is my enemy. This is the bad guy. And it's like, no, dingy, we have more in common than you think. And actually, when you really think about it, the government is all of our enemy, especially when it gets big, especially when it's massive and it's out of control. And now it's in control of parts of your life that it never should have been in control of. So when you don't understand that and you're busy fighting the guy on the ground with you versus them up there, that's when it becomes a problem. And also, to Michael's point earlier, with the side hustles, it's an attack on entrepreneurship. They don't want us to aspire to own, to grow and develop as individuals in this country. They want us to be these, like, go back to when we transitioned into being these employees. Be 35 years of Xerox or the military. Those were the options, So when we crossed over into that, and then people started to figure out that this is bullshit and that this does not work. And then once people started to get too independent again, they started creating shit like COVID again. So you become more like Marlon said, you're more dependent on the government, and you literally give up your rights, and you don't understand it because you've never been taught what your rights actually are.
Yes, initially this was the plan. Initially, but like everything, like with the wartime funds to get World War I and II off the ground. And then eventually that became, the rule to just pay to support the military. That's exactly what like I said, they introduced the small things in order to become normal. Patriot Act. Oh, it's to make sure that we don't ever have a terroristic attack again on the United States soil. And then before too long, we're just checking your emails real quick. We're just going to need access to your bank account. Or we're monitoring your phones. Or we heard that phone call. Or we know exactly what you want. And we're going to make sure we see it populate your page. Patriot Act did all of that. You can thank Bush for that one. Technically, you can thank Clinton for that too, but I know I digress.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
And it's all a form of control. Like if you look at the Patriot Act, start off with that. And then we fast forward to the FISA stuff. They're claiming that the FISA is only used to monitor, Republican Russian agents that are, communicating with Russia. No, it's to track all of us, especially us on the right. Now, how many times have you heard these people on the left say we have to put people in the right in re-education camps? How many times have you heard that? Lots of times from major politicians. So if they can use this FISA to track what we watch on YouTube, they've already talked about that. I know everyone's heard about tracking YouTube, tracking what we search for, tracking all that through FISA. Then they start building a record on you. And then they came out with that whole HDMI thing to where they can plug into your TV with HDMI, any type of device you have plugged in, they can send ads to your TV without your knowledge. So what is that telling you? They're tapping into your TV, because when you're using your devices and say, I go to YouTube and I'm watching Jordan Lee Peterson, they know I'm watching Jordan Lee Peterson. You get put on a list. Okay, this guy is a far right extremist. He watches videos on Donald Trump, Jordan Lee Peterson. He watches some Fox News stuff. He has a political podcast called The Savage Patriots. Add him to the list as a domestic terrorist.
Good. Add me.
So next thing you know, the FBI, which is already happening, the FBI comes and knocks on your door.
I hope they do.
It says, we'd like to talk to you about your social media posts. Well, how'd you know about that?
My reply is, I'd like to talk to you about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, if you don't mind. We'll trade off. I'll go first, and I'll take up all the time so you can't talk to me about my social media posts. I will talk for 2 days if you let me. So yeah, I hope they come to my door. I have an answer for them. But I did agree with COVID for one thing. I did agree with COVID on one front. It annihilated a lot of the clowns. Sorry, not sorry. If you were dumb enough to mask up and be an idiot like that and can't breathe and got sick, I'm not sorry for you. Y'all might think I'm calloused and cold. No, I'm a realist. I'm a realist. If I told you outside is 5,000 degrees hot, and if you put your hand out, it's going to get burned, and you look me dead in the face and you say, I don't believe you. And I say, well, go ahead, put your hand outside. And then you put your hand outside and it gets burned off and you're like, ah! I said, don't scream. I told you you'd lose your hand. But I didn't. I said, well, now you do, right? Now you know? Perfect. And they say, I wonder if it's going to happen to my other hand too. That's how stupid these people are, which is why I don't feel empathy or pity for them. Because at some point, hear me out. Y'all can dislike me if you want. At some point, critical thinking has to become normal again.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't become normal again, then you pay the consequences for not being a critical thinker. When you were younger, the whole fork in a socket, running down the hallway with scissors, running with bare feet outside, and then you come in with some kind of injury and your mama told you how to prevent all that, and you look her in the face and say, I just didn't think it would happen to me. You know that your mama's older than you and she probably lived through a lot of mistakes, and you probably should take her experience for some sort of wisdom, and you don't, then that's how I see it. If they don't want to listen, don't listen. If you don't believe that the world war is happening, don't believe it. If you don't think that the Hamas is against LGBT, go over there with your flag and your non-binary and tell them. I encourage you, please start a GoFundMe. Create a GoFundMe and say you want to go meet all of Hamas and tell them how happy you are that you're for Palestine. And make sure you go with your purple hair, with your MAPS flag on your chest, and your fist raised, and you go over there and act as queer as you possibly can and as butch as you possibly can. Please do it. So when you go there and you get what you get, you know, like the Joker said, what do you get when you put a queer person in Hamas territory? You get what you deserve, okay? That's what I'm saying. That's all.
Well, what I was told is that's not true, and that's called pink washing.
Good.
Pink washing. Okay.
Pink washing.
Yes. So you're lying on their stance on homosexuality, and that is not the case. So
it's not illegal, and they won't throw you off a roof.
Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there? It's only one way to find out. I say, prove me wrong.
Prove it.
I will pay for your trip.
I am more than happy. I am more than happy to be proven wrong. You know, I will never be more happy to be proven wrong. But the best way to prove me wrong, since I don't believe it, that's what you're saying. You have to show me by example.
Yeah.
Go over. The case is still the same. Please go over there. I have no problem with you going over there. In fact, I think the people there would love to have you, because just like in 300, they're looking for body parts to build their wall with.
Mm.
You might be a good addition, but then again, I don't know for sure. So you go check.
And if you do, don't forget to stream it live on TikTok.
Yeah.
To bring it back to the war, since we're talking about Israel and Palestine, the fact that everybody is siding for one side or the other is dumb in the first place. They're both stupid. Neither one of them are the good guys here. Like, I'm not defending the Israeli government the same way as I'm going to defend Hamas, because they're both evil, stupid people. Like, at the end of the day, they want certain things that involved wiping out a particular demographic of people. I can't be okay with either of those people, right? Because that's what the Israeli government is advocating for behind the scenes, and Hamas is just doing it openly, right? They're both genocidal maniacs, and you want me to be okay with both of them? No, I'm not. The only people I'm on the side of is the innocents that are getting killed because of people's stupid dick measuring contest that they want to do. Like, that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the kids getting killed because they want to say my ethnic cleansing is better than your ethnic cleansing. Come on, man.
Because of the difference in color.
No. Yeah, it's just a different shade of evil, man. I'm not going to be okay with either one of those. So I can have that difference of opinion here. And the fact that, like, they want to say that Iran's in the wrong here is, like, not really, because Israel broke international law by launching missiles to kill a general in Syria, who they're not at war with, by the way, into an embassy. They broke the rules-based order that they pretend to tout out by attacking an embassy, which is a sovereign territory of another country. This was been decided in 1963 through the Vienna Convention, right? This is something everybody agreed on, and they broke it. And they're saying, oh, wow, I can't believe they attacked us. It's like, yeah, I can imagine why they did that.
It wouldn't be any different than what happened in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the same again. This when people want to tell me that World War III, I will tell you, technically it's been happening since Obama's reign. Technically, since 9/11. You know, actually, let's
beginning of the GWAT. Yeah.
Technically, it's been since Herbert Walker. Technically, it's been since Herbert Walker Bush that World War III has been. This has been the longest running war in the history of the world ever, because the same powers have been involved in them since. If the same powers have been involved in either funding, fighting, or continuing, it's the same war, just with different names. And you have a different angle. You know how you have different, what would you call that? Missions. You have different missions in the war. That's all. This is a different mission, but it's the same war. You're just taking out a different strategic point. That's all. Since Walker Bush stepped in and started to do the things he did in Guyana, in Africa, and he made treaties with China, since he stepped in and did that, come on now. It's been going on for a while. You're just seeing the fruits of their labor in grandiose fashion because the media is going to keep promoting it. And the more that they show, the more that they're going to pan it to a certain direction to make you want to have it happen. You're going to keep buying into it unless you actually open up your mind and realize that the people at the helm of this want you to think a certain way. You fight that and you'll realize pretty soon you don't have to back them. In fact, you can keep all of your money for yourself. When you start realizing you don't have to do anything to do with taxes. It's not even legal. So once you figure that out, I think you'd be in a much better place.
And I always say this, it's a rich man's war, but the poor men fight it. Right. So all these heads of these countries, all of them, I think majority of them are UN, right? They're all part of the United Nations, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think
one of them. Yeah.
So they're all part of the United Nations. They all hang out at their little meetings where they, play with each other, have dinners and chum it up at these UN, things. And then all of a sudden we turn on a TV. We have enemies everywhere. Look, American people. These people in these countries that America keeps telling is our enemy, it's not our enemy. It's their enemy.
Yeah.
They create the enemy and push it off as it's a collective. It's not a collective enemy. I have nothing against Russia. I have nothing against Iran. I have nothing against Hamas. I have nothing against Israel. Let the government. It's the governments. They plan something at their little UN meeting where they're all making money, and they're like, okay, I'm just going to attack you. I'm just going to drop a bomb here. Okay, where are you going to? Then when are you going to come in? Okay, when are you? And it's all planned, man. All this is like a movie, because these people, as Marlon said, have been the heads of these countries for years. Why now? This has been going on for how long? Now it's a problem. Now we need to have almost a World War III or World War III. What's been going on these last few years? Bombing each other and killing each other and doing all this other stuff between Israel and Hamas. It's been going on for years, but now it's a problem. It's all. It's all.
That meme.
It's a reason, man.
Typical Trump tard MAGA.
Yeah. So I mean, I love this meme because that came out of the whole Iran and Israel thing, is because this is so true. Because we've paid for all of this. Everything that's happening right now is all U.S. tax dollars at work, right? It's the petrodollar. Like this is all the things we've paid for, or at least the government has paid for. The CIA operatives and all those folks have worked so hard for it. Because like the only reason Iran is a enemy state to us in the first place is because of the CIA. Because they overthrew a democratically elected leader in Iran, and then they installed a dictator who then was replaced by a religious zealot. And that's what you get when you meddle with things you shouldn't meddle with. So all of this has been the doing of the U.S. for a very long time, because they keep screwing up foreign policy thinking they know best instead of just leaving well enough alone, right? So like you wonder why we can't have any of the nice things that the lefties want. It's because we keep paying for stupid things like this, right? We're just paying for missiles for one side and the other side to attack each other for no reason, and we're still paying for it. Yeah. Like that's our responsibility.
What do I always say? Everything is a rich man's trick. Everything. Yeah. They're playing both sides. Who's ever up top's getting paid. They're getting paid on both sides, man. So don't fall for this illusion, this movie that we're watching. Yes, it sucks for the people that are there. It really does. I feel for the people, but I don't believe them.
I want to end with this. Okay, there was a song way back in the day. It's not really that old, but it's old enough. This was back in 2005 by a group called System of a Down. The song is called what? Bring Your Own Bombs.
Yeah, BYOB.
This is what it called. Barbarism by Barbaras with pointed heels. Victorious kneel for a brand new spanking deal. Marching forward, hypocritic and hypnotic computers. We're in that phase right now. You depend on our protection, yet you feed us lies from the tablecloth. Everyone's going to the party, have a real good time, dancing in the desert, blowing up the sunshine. Okay? That is exactly what is going on right now. Why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? You know why? Because it's easy. And it's intentional. They want to have this whole, global shutdown of people. They want to eradicate people, make it less population. Why do you think they need to do that? Less people mean an easier population to control. Yeah. And who are they trying to get rid of? The ones that are most resisting.
Yep.
Ironically, though, which is funny, the most ironic part, the ones that they're eradicating are the ones on their side. And I love it. I'm here for it.
Eating their own kind of
I am here for it because you're so stupid that you don't realize the ones you're trying to eradicate see what you're trying to do. And we won't let you eradicate them. And the dumb ones that you want on your side that are easy to control are listening to you, and they end themselves. And I'm here for it. I promote the concept. Hear me out. I am for the concept of the stupid doing what the smart want when the smart hate you. I'm for it because you are the ones that decide to be stupid. It's intentional stupidity. You are that way intentionally. And you have the choice to be intentionally smart, but you choose to be intentionally dumb. And then you pay the price for being intentionally dumb. And I'm here to do this. Call me Ringling Brothers. I'm here to put you on display and make people pay to watch you be stupid. And I'm okay with that because you have the option and you choose not to. Meanwhile, I'm going to be the one that's just going to sit here and make sure that the government doesn't do what it wants to do to me. I'm going to stand strong. So you guys have the option. Is it World War III or not? Guess what? It doesn't matter what you think because it's what's actually happening. And it is happening. You just have to open your eyes to the truth of what it actually is. That's on you. On Wednesday, we still have to tackle a few things that are going on. One of them is, and I want to see if you guys are okay with this, the rise. Hear me out, please. I want to make sure no one gets mad at me. Please don't get mad at me. The rise of violence across America, but not just regular violence, but violence towards kids.
Mm-hmm.
May not have a whole lot of people watching it, but we're watching a rise of violence against kids, and it's through other children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you see those constantly on X.
Yeah. Games and violence and fighting and strip, or even better, and you might not call this violence, but women sexualizing children. That's also violence against children. Just so you know, because last time I checked, rape is not
female teachers
like
have been.
It's not like what's her name? Carol said it's sexy. It's not. Rape is not. Eugene Carroll. Thanks God.
So one of the things I wanted to mention, Marlon, before you head out, is that I have 5 books for required reading for you to understand what the establishment is doing to you. Mm-hmm. One of them is 5 Elements of Effective Thinking. You should get that book. Aristotle, Rhetoric. Get that. This one is the most important one. The Prince by Machiavelli. Mm-hmm. If you want to know what people think, this is a warning. This is a book that people misunderstand as thinking this is a blueprint of how to be a dictator. No, it's a warning of how dictators come to power. This is required reading. The other 2, not as much, but still important: How to Win an Election and How to Run a Country. These 2 are very important as well. So, like, if you really want to understand what the elites think and what they're doing, these books will help you with that.
I would add Art of War to that list as well.
Yeah, Art of War as well.
Yeah. That would be another good one. And Orwell's 1985. That's another one. I mean, just, you can decide that one or not, but definitely the Art of War.
If you had to pick one of them, Machiavelli, The Prince, read that. That is required reading for understanding what tyrants do.
Yeah, it's a great way to understand what the social experiment is. It's ridiculous. And if you get it, you realize I don't have to join in. So don't join in. Simply don't join in. Too Strong will be live tonight. We're going to talk about whether OJ did it or not. We're serious. We're asking you whether or not OJ did it. There was a statement made by Judge Joe Brown that said, from the evidence he witnessed, he doesn't believe that OJ was guilty. And not because he was black, but because of the evidentiary thing, planted evidence and all this stuff. And anyway, we'll go through what he said. We are not saying OJ was guilty or innocent. We are saying people said that OJ didn't do it. So the question is, did he? Or no, not P. Diddy, but did he do it? When what did he do?
Diddy did. Okay. Diddy definitely did it. Diddy definitely did it.
Did he do it or did he didn't do it? It depends on whether or not you believe Diddy. Okay.
With Meek Mill. Oh,
with
no,
Meek Mill. Okay. So y'all can.
Hey, look, let me tell you, that sound Meek made is permanently embedded in my head.
I'm glad I didn't listen to it fully, man. I heard the first thing. I was like, nope, off.
Don't listen to it. That's permanently in my brain. I just can't stop hearing it.
Is the hooch on tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We'll probably cover the Trump trial.
Nice.
And then, Marlon, weren't we going to go live? You want to do?
Oh, yes, we were going to go. Was it tomorrow?
Yeah, it was tomorrow. Remember, I have an appointment at 1300, 1 o'clock. So.
Okay, we can go before then because I only have one show in the morning and that's it. But we are trying to go live on TikTok. It's only to advertise the Savage Patriots. It's not to have a discussion with no lefties. I think y'all are fully much aware of the Savage Patriots. We're not here to discuss anything with the people on the left. There is no discussing anything with them. This is our belief. If you don't believe it, we don't care if you don't believe it. You believe what you want, but you're not going to persuade us otherwise. It's not happening, okay? No common ground to be found, at least for me. I don't need your common ground. I have what I believe, and I don't need you to agree with it. I just believe it. So we're going to have a little advertisement live on TikTok. So if you do have TikTok, tell everybody we're going to go live. Individually, of course, on my account and Bro Pitch's account, but we'll have a nice little hoorah about the Savage Patriots. Get some traction going. Let's see if we can get us above 2K.
AJ, thank you for coming.
If you are going to watch, we're looking for moderators too. So we're going to need some mods for that one.
Yeah, definitely need some.
The smooth brain tambourine monkeys are going to be jumping in, saying what they have to say. And
I can moderate.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a little fun with them before we nix them, but I know AJ knows how to do that.
We're gonna make fun of them. We might have to bring AJ in the mix because AJ be giving it to him raw. I'll be watching it live. I'll be like, damn.
Right.
It'll be tomorrow, Retro. It'll be tomorrow.
We
Before
might have to
1
bring
p.m.
AJ
Central.
in the mix.
Is it 1 p.m. Central? Before 1 p.m. Central, because bro has something going on.
Yeah,
So
I have an appointment at
we'll definitely hit you up then. So thank you, AJ, for joining us.
For sure.
Your input was invaluable. Thank you. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on the Hooch and later tonight on Too Strong. In the morning, I have a discussion with an atheist who says he can school me. So we'll see how that goes.
Sorry,
nice.
just getting schooled.
He says he
has
has an advantage over me. So I'm curious to see what that advantage is.
Let's go.
That ought to be interesting. So if you don't mind joining, I'm not going to lose my cool on him. Just watch the last two atheist debates. I did not lose my cool.
Hey,
Okay?
you came close. You came close on that last one. You was like,
but I did not go off on nobody. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I did pretty good for who I actually am. I didn't go off.
They're still going to make you do it.
That's in the morning, and then of course we go live with bro and on TikTok, and then we'll see you guys on the Savage Patriots on Wednesday. Do not miss that one, Mr. Lee.
Yep.
So like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see y'all Wednesday.
Peace.
Peace out.
Oh.